Greetings and welcome to another Lessons with Odin. On today's episode, going to be showing you how to bezel a spike bead in another way. I've got a couple of other projects before. One is a regular POD and one is kind of like a right angle weave, but this one is a different right angle weave. And for those of you who are not familiar with this piece, this was my summer challenge. I'm going to be working on making a PDF tutorial for the entire piece, and I'm also going to be teaching a few more techniques from this piece on YouTube, so stay tuned for that. So yes, another thing to do with your spikes, you can dangle it with some accent beads and turn it into a pair of earrings or something like that. I might also be turning this entire piece into a Skillshare class, which, if you are not aware, I have a Skillshare channel. There is a link to one of my free classes down below, which is my very popular Tavern Windows cuff, so if you would like, feel free to check the link down below. Yes. So for these delightful spiky things, you will need a spike bead. This is a 7x17. It's one of the larger spike beads. You will need 10 3mm beads. I'm using Bicones, and these are brand name. You don't have to use brand name, but just be aware that sizes may differ. Size 11 seed beads and size 15 seed beads. And of course, your needle and thread. I'm using a size 12 needle with some crappy-ass Nymo that everybody knows I hate. Let us get started! Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to start a band that we're going to paste around the spike bead. I'm going to use this basically in a weird strip of right angle weave. So for my first stitch, I'm going to add on one 3mm, one size 15, one 3mm, and one size 15. I'm going to pull it down, leaving a small-ish tail. We're not going to use it, so make it as comfortable as you can when you are knotting it. Once all those beads are tied on, I'm going to pass back through all these beads again to form a loop. Like so. I'm going to take my tail and tie an overhand knot with the working thread to secure that stitch in place. And that is what we end up with. I'm going to pass my needle through the 15, taking care not to shove the knot through that hole and just kind of leave it in between the two beads because it'll give us a better time working with it, because that's not fun. So, now I'm going to add on 3 size 15 seed beads and then pass through the 15 once more. And we're kind of starting our chain in this direction, so I'm going to move all the way over to the size 15 on the opposite side of our little segment here. So I'm going to pass through that bead and down this bead. Now I'm going to add on one 3mm, one size 15, and one 3mm, and I'm going to pass back through that round again. That size 15 that is on the other end. To continue the chain, I'm going to pass up and head over to this size 15 on the end. So I'm going to pass up through 3mm bead, and then up through the 15. Then I'm ready to add another set of 3 size 15 seed beads. That. Pass it up. Then we need to move all the way down here again. So, move over 2 beads. So repeat this until you have 5 3mm sections and only 4 of the size 15 seed bead sections. So basically you're going to continue on adding 3 more of these and only 2 more of these. And this is what my chain looks like so far. Now it's time to join them together to form a loop. You will notice that the chain starts and ends with a 3mm pattern. And each of the 15mm segments is composed of 4 beads. We have 2 of the 4 beads here on each end. We just need to tie them together and add on beads in between. So from here, my thread is coming out of the top of this size 15. I'm going to add 1 size 15, pass my needle all the way over to the very first size 15. This will cinch things together. And you can see the start of our circle of 4 forming. So all I gotta do is add on 1 more, size 15, and go back up the same size 15 we started from. And we form our circle of 4. I'm gonna reinforce this just so it's not a pain to work with, just by going around once more. And we have our circle that looks like that. So from here, my working thread is coming out of this seed bead here, right next to a 3mm bead. What I want to do is pass right through the 3mm bead again. Right over here. Now I'm going to start anchoring this on to my spike bead. So I'm just going to thread on the spike, pull it down, and push it in the center of our little bail that we've made. Like that. Now, we're going to look for a seed bead directly across from the first hole. This is our 3mm bead that we started with over here. My 15-0 seed bead is right across the way. I'm going to pass through that bead and pull tight. Then I'm going to work my needle down and pass it back through the hole of the spike again. Now you can kind of see that my thread is started from this 3mm bead. What I want to do is pass through the opposite end. So currently it's on my left. I'm going to pass through the right. Once more. Pull it tight. And I'm going to kind of reinforce it by passing through the spike bead again. Pass through the spike bead. Then, going to pass through that seed bead across the way again. Pass through the spike hole one more time. And finally, pass through the opposite side of our 3mm bead. And that should anchor it properly in place. Now to cinch everything together, we're still a little bit loose and floppy around, so what I'm going to do now is add 1 size 11 seed bead and pass through the next 3mm bead on the round so that it gets wedged directly in between. And then I'm going to repeat that all the way around until I have size 11 beads in between all of the crystals. Now what I'm going to do is reinforce by passing through all those beads at least once, possibly twice, to get everything really tight. Alright, so now I'm going to end up working on the bail up here, so I need to move to the top 3mm bead. That is what I'm going to do right now. From here, I'm going to add on 2 size 15 seed beads, 1 size 11, and 2 size 15 seed beads. Then I'm going to pass over to the next 3mm bead on the round so that these beads end up in between the 2 crystals. I'm going to repeat that all the way around until I've completed all 5 sets. And that is what we end up with. From here, I'm going to pass my needle up through 2 size 15 beads and stop through the size 11 bead. Then I'm going to take one size 15 and pass through to the next size 11 seed bead. And watch them cinch together. They might not cinch perfectly immediately, but as you continue the row, they should sit together nicely. So I'm going to add another one, size 15, and pass through the next size 11 on the round. I'm going to repeat that until I've completed the round. And that is what we end up with. Cinch everything together, pull it tight, and then reinforce this round at least once more so that we get everything pulled up and cinched together. And that is what you should end up with. I'm going to move over until my thread is coming out of a size 15 seed bead. Then I'm going to add one size 15 seed bead. I've changed colors for visibility. And I'm going to pass through to the next size 15 seed bead. Once more, add one size 15, pass through to the next size 15. And everything should be cinching together properly. Like that. Repeat that all the way around until you have 5 beads. And that is what you should have. I'm going to step up by passing through the next size 15. This will be the very first bead you added when you make this row. Pull through. And once again, I'm going to add one more row the same way. I'm going to add on one size 15. Pass through to the next size 15 on the row, which in my case is the white one. And these will sandwich the size 15 in between. Once more, add on one size 15, pass to the next size 15 on the row. And break your shit. Well, isn't that fantastic? Alright, once you've put everything back together, you're going to repeat that all the way around until you have completed all 5 beads. I'm adding 5 red beads in this case. Then I'm going to end up by stepping up the next bead over. It's going to be, in my case, a red bead. This will be the very first bead that you added in this round. Next, I'm going to start attaching my bail. I'm going to add on 2 size 15 seed beads, a size 11 seed bead, and 2 size 15 seed beads. Then I'm going to bring them down, and I'm going to pick a bead that's kind of across the way. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's going to hang a little weird anyway, but I'm going to just do the same thing we did to anchor it to the spike. From here, I have my piece attached to 2 beads across the way. So what I'm going to do is move back and forth in order to reinforce. So I'm going to go up my 2 new seed beads, size 15, and down again. And then I'm going to pass through the opposite side of the size 15 bead that we started with. Repeat that a couple more times until you feel the piece is secure. Then you can go ahead and end your threads, and you will have a completed piece. Feel free to add these to earrings, add another clasp or some sort of bead decoration thing on top of it, and go wild with it. I would love to see what you come up with. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I am going to be starting a Facebook group featuring all of your guys' work, so feel free to join, and if you've made anything using my tutorials, please feel free to share pictures because I would love to see them. And don't forget to check out more of my classes on Skillshare. I am currently working on this pendant here. This is the Snowflower Duo pendant. It's a bezeled Rivoli. I also have a PDF on this on my Craftsy shop, so I will leave links down below. And until the end of this month, my Tavern Windows Skillshare class will be free, so be sure to check that out and see what you come up with. In the meantime, be prepared and on the lookout for this. It will be coming soon. And I think that'll do it for this edition of Lessons with Odin. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And of course, if there's anything I need to be trying out right now, feel free to leave me a comment down below. And I will see you next time.